Hello everyone, welcome to another psychiatric and mental health nursing lecture. And for today's topic, it will be all about the psychopathology, etiology, and psychodynamics of disruptive behavior disorders. Ang disruptive behavior class ay mga problema sa kakayahan ng isang individual na kontrolin ang sarili niyang emotion or even yung kanyang pagkilos or yung kanyang behavior. Karaniwan itong nakikita na paulit-ulit na pattern na ang isang tao ay palaging nagagalit, mayroong hostility, meron ding aggression laban sa ibang tao or sa mga properties or ari-arian ng iba. Nakikitaan ng tinatawag nating persistent anger ang isang individual. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang minsan kundi madalas at tuloy-tuloy na galit ang naoobserbahan sa isang tao. Meron siyang hostility. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng hostility? Madaling mag-react ng masama kahit na sa mga simpleng sitwasyon or simpleng life circumstances lamang. Ang aggression naman ay maaaring maipakita sa pagsigaw o pag-insulto or mga tinatawag nating verbal activities or verbal actions, pero pwede din ang aggression ay maipakita sa isang physical activities or yung tinatawag nating mga pananakit or paninira, pambabasag ng mga gamit, lalo na gamit ng iba. Para mas lumawak yung pag-intindi natin sa salitang disruptive behavior, ang halimbawa ng isang disruptive behavior ay isang bata or isang individual na kapag pinagsasabihan ng magulang na magligpit ng mga laruan niya or yung mga ginamit or kinalat niyang laruan, imbis na sumunod, ang ginagawa ng bata, sumisigaw or itatapon pa or ikakalat pa lalo ang mga laruan niya. So, ganyan ang ibig sabihin or ganyan ang isang halimbawa na ang individual, ang tao, whether it is bata or adolescent or teenager, ay nagpapakita ng disruptive behavior. Meron itong impact sa mga tao sa kanyang paligid, lalong-lalo na sa kanyang magulang o sa kanyang pamilya, na kapag ang disruptive behavior ay hindi natin naagapan or hindi natin na-address, pwede itong maging source ng stress. Pwede itong maging source ng conflict. Minsan, physical harm pa within the members of the family. Pagdating naman sa iba pang environment ng bata or ng teenager, let's say for example, sa school, nahihirapan ang bata na makipag-socialize. Madalas may mga disciplinary actions na ini-impose or ibinibigay sa bata from the teachers. Madalas papatawag ng eskwelahan ang mga magulang or ang guardian ng bata to discuss and correct whatever bad behavior na ipinapakita niya that can be associated with a disruptive behavior. When it comes to the community, sa kanyang barangay o sa kanyang lugar na tinitirhan or kinalalagakan, pwedeng ang bata magpakita ng mga disruptive behavior or pwedeng magpakita ng disruptive behavior ng isang teenager or adolescent sa pamamagitan ng mga vandalism, mga sitwasyon na merong nakikitaan o nauobserbahang pagnanakaw o yung mga tinatawag nating delinquent acts. So, halimbawa nga, yung teenager na palaging nakikipag-away sa classmates niya, nahihirapang magkaroon ng kaibigan or ang mas nakikita na uobserbahan sa eskwelahan ay yung tinatawag na poor performance ng bata. So, pwedeng ganon yung mga maging impact ng disruptive behavior within the people and the people that surrounds the involved individual and within their environment. There are also identified clinical perspective when it comes to disruptive behavior. Kagaya sa pagdating ng psychopathology, may mga dysfunction sa regulation ng emotions at behavior ang bata. Pagdating naman sa etiology, ang tinitignan nating aspeto dito could be the genetics, temperament, trauma, or even adverse social conditions. And for the psychodynamics aspect naman, There are conflicts with the authority figures. Ang authority figures natin palagi magulang, guardians, or kung sino man ang nangangalaga sa bata, whether lolo o lola, tito o tita, mga unmet needs ng bata, and even the poor coping skills. Maraming iba't ibang klase ng disruptive behavior na pag-uusapan natin. At isa na nga dito is what we call the oppositional defiant disorder or yung mas kilala sa tawag na ODD. Ang ODD ay isang klase ng disruptive behavior disorder. Ito ay yung tinatawag na paulit-ulit na pattern na pagiging uncooperative, defiant, disobedient, at hostile from the authority figures ng either a child or adolescent or teenager. So, pagdating sa authority figures, class, it will always be the parents, it will be the teachers, the guardian, counselors, na ang nagiging behavior nila ay, yes, may mga hindi pagsunod or paglabag, pero hindi ito umaabot sa mga tinatawag nating major and serious antisocial violations. So pag sinabi mo ng antisocial, it doesn't necessarily mean yung individual or yung bata ay umiiwas sa ibang tao. When you say antisocial, it pertains to the laws, it pertains to the rules, to the regulations, to the protocols na kaya natin ini-impose, kaya natin ini-implement, because as much as possible, we want an individual to be disciplined. We want an individual to do acceptable behavior, to have a positive outlook. Kaya natin ito ginagawa. Oppositional defiant disorder is milder variant of a conduct disorder. Kasi pag pinag-usapan na ang conduct disorder, seryoso na ang kaso na to, which we will discuss later on. And ito ay maaaring makita sa edad ng mga 2 to 3 years old, pero maaari ding mag-develop eventually by the time na ma-reach na ng individual yung early adolescence stage. For healthcare professionals like psychiatric nurses or mental health nurses or psychiatrists or psychologists, their diagnosis will be based from behaviors are more often frequent and intense. So yung mga hostile behavior, uncooperative, defiant, and disobedience, napapadalas at nakikita nilang lumalala. There are also reported cases of dysfunction pagdating sa social, academic, and sometimes work situations because there are individuals na nadadala nila itong oppositional defiant disorder until they reach adulthood. So, let us use an example para mas lumawak ang intindi natin for the oppositional defiant disorder. Example nito, may isang bata, individual, na kapag sinasabihan ng teacher na magsulat ng assignment, yung bata magbe-verbalize ng, ayoko teacher sumunod, bakit ako susunod sa'yo? Bakit ako kailangan magsulat ng assignment? Hanggang sa paulit-ulit niya tong gagawin kahit na wala namang ibang mabigat na dahilan para hindi siya sumunod sa instruction na magsulat ng assignment. So, nakuha ba? Ibig sabihin, class, this could be a simple uncooperativeness, simple disobedience na mas madalas nakikita or nauobserbahan natin among children, among adolescents. Now, based on our reference book, no, Psychiatric Mental Health Nursing, 10th edition of Sheila V. DeBeck, the prevalence of oppositional defiant disorder is seen among 2 to 15% of adolescents across the globe. But in United States specifically, it's about 3 to 5% of their adolescents. Mas madalas ang naaapektuhan with oppositional defiant disorder ay mga lalaki. And when it comes to the risk factors, mga maaaring dahilan, bakit na uuwi sa oppositional defiant disorder ang isang individual, it could be genetics. May kinalaman sa pwedeng maipamana sa atin ng ating mga magulang. It could be out of temperament or adverse social conditions. Now, key signs and symptoms can be presented by, let's say, self-concept. Low self-concept. Ito, ibig sabihin nito yung bata mas nagvo-verbalize na, wala naman akong silbi, wala akong pakinabang. That's what we mean by lower self-concept. Or pwedeng hirap mag-connect ng behavior ng isang bata sa mga iba't ibang consequences na pwedeng i-impose sa kanya. At mababa din yung kanyang sensitivity pagdating sa reward and punishment system. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya masyadong nag-expect ng reward or anong magiging kapalit kapag gumawa siya ng tama. Ganun din sa hindi siya natatakot kapag paparusahan mo siya after a bad behavior na ipakita niya. So, yun yung mga possible signs and symptoms that we might observe among this group of individuals. There are also what we call acceptable characteristics and abnormal behavior in adolescents, specifically in adolescents, which this table help us differentiate the two. So what could be those manifestations na pwede nating tanggapin sa pag-uugali or pag-control ng emotion ng isang teenager over those what we observe na based on references are abnormal behaviors and will require further assessment and intervention. Other signs and symptoms could be reduced sensitivity to reward and punishment, nabanggit at naipaliwanag na nga natin, impaired problem-solving skills, deficiency in attention, flexibility of thinking, and decision-making. Now, for the prognosis, importante, no, the age of onset. Laging sinasabi natin, early intervention will always help those individual having mental health challenges or psychiatric problems. The severity of the symptoms, importante din ito kasi this will also determine appropriate management para hindi na mag-lead to complications or hindi na magdala pa sa mas serious na problema. And the presence of other mental health issue or psychiatric disorders, that's also significant na makita agad ng mga healthcare professionals, ng psychiatrist or ng psychologist, so we can address them appropriately. Now, paano ba natin i-manage ang mga individuals under oppositional defiant disorder? So, we can manage them through parent management training models of behavioral intervention. So, dito i-involve talaga natin si mommy or si daddy or the guardian looking after the child when it comes to the trainings na paano ba nila didisiplinahin yung mga anak nila na hindi sumusunod sa kanila or tumataliwas sa kanilang pinag-uutos. Yung mga hindi nagko-cooperate with the parents or with the other family members. Pwede din nating gamitan ng mga coping power program. This will help establish competence and confidence among the individuals para hindi na sila mauwi sa mga low self-concept at hindi na nila laging ipinpoint na wala silang silbi or walang silbing mga sarili nila. Individual therapy can also be beneficial, lalo na with the individual therapy, nabibigyan natin ng tsansa yung mga teenagers or adolescents natin to express themselves. And at the same time, understand the situation and help them come up. Ano ba talaga yung appropriate solution for a certain problem? Uncooperativeness, disobedience are not the solution in those problems na pinagdadaanan nila. Kaya, mas maganda with the individual therapy, mas mabigyan natin sila ng pansin, mas mapagtuunan sila ng pansin. Nga lang nabanggit na natin with yung presence ng iba pang psychiatric problem na dito pwedeng mag-benefit yung mga individuals natin with certain psychiatric medications na, let's say for example, addressing other mental health disorders such as, let's say, antidepressants to manage the depression. For the anxiety, we have your anti-anxiety medications, and those with manic episodes, no, yung talagang may aggressiveness, they could benefit from the lithium salts na prescribed sa kanila. Now, let's move on to the second type of a disruptive behavior disorder. Ang tawag sa sakit na to is an intermittent explosive disorder. Intermittent explosive disorder. Ang intermittent explosive disorder, ito yung mga sudden episodes of impulsiveness, aggressiveness, and sometimes it's a violent behavior na out of proportion sa trigger. Minsan ang duration nito about 30 minutes na talagang magpapakita ng negative behavior ang pasyente natin or ang individual. Na yung negative behavior na to nauuwi sa mga physical injuries, not only to themselves but mas madalas to other people, mga destruction ng property, nagbabasag ng gamit, ng babali ng mga gamit or istruktura, naninira, nagkakalat, and there is what we call a grossly out of proportion kasi nga, ang pinagmumulan talaga nito is the stressor. Minsan kahit mga minor issue, nagkakaroon ng rage, aggression, sometimes assault pa nga sa ibang tao. May swearing din, at madalas walang warning sign ito. There's no warning that there will be an explosive, unacceptable or negative behavior. Nga lang ang ikinaiba ng intermittent explosive disorder over oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorder, ito yung nag-iisang disruptive behavior na ang tao, after the episode, nakakaranas ng embarrassment, nakakaranas ng guilty, at nakakaranas ng remorse. Ibig sabihin, nararamdaman nila na nagsisisi sila kasi nararamdaman nila na napahiya sila out of the action na ipinakita nila, out of the behavior na ginawa nila. The IED or the intermittent explosive disorder can happen anytime in life. Kahit sino pwedeng magkaroon ng explosive negative behavior na to. Nga lang, mas madalas itong naoobserbahan with the age group of teenagers and young adult, na kung saan talagang talamak or mas exposed sa stress. Madalas, ang mga intermittent explosive disorders ay nakikita sa mga lalaki, more common among males over female individuals. And this is always associated with other psychiatric and mental health problems like substance use disorder, which is siya yung pinaka-common out of all the disorders. Pero pwede din tong ma-connect with ADHD, with conduct disorder, and even with oppositional defiant disorder. May mga iba't ibang risk factors din na tinitignan nating anggulo bakit nagde-develop yung intermittent explosive disorder. Kagaya ng halimbawa, childhood trauma, neglect or maltreatment, na ito namumulat na sa mga aspeto na to ang isang individual madalas mula sa pagkabata naranasan to. Kaya nakikita nila that in every problem, the only solution that they can do is to vent out, express their emotion through impulsiveness and aggressiveness. Pero may iba naman, may kinalaman with the anatomical problem or anatomical concerns such as imbalance with the neurotransmitter serotonin, na kung saan serotonin is the one that help us regulate our mood, o kaya naman dysfunction within the frontal lobe area of the brain. Pero maaari din, it is a comorbidity from other medical problems such as coronary heart disease. It could also be out of hypertension, stroke, and even diabetes. Now, intermittent explosive disorder can be managed through psychopharmacology. Some of the psychiatrists or psychologists administer or prescribe medications that can be administered to patients or can be taken by the patients. And a very good example is your SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and that is your fluoxetine or yung mas kilala sa brand name na Prozac. But for manic episodes or more aggressive episodes, we can benefit from giving lithium or even anticonvulsants such as your valproic acid and phenytoin. Of course, for a more effective management, we can apply several psychotherapies. That includes your cognitive behavioral therapy, especially emphasizing the reward and punishment system. Pagmamanage ng anger among as one of the emotion na nararamdaman ng mga involved individuals natin. Anger management can also be beneficial, displacing their emotion, no, to different activities or actions. Pag-iwas sa mga substances like alcohol, nicotine, or all other substances that can influence the behavior and the emotion. At higit sa lahat, mga relaxation strategies or techniques na pwedeng gawin ng bata or ng individual, ng teenager, or ng young adult para ma-regulate niya yung galit, yung anger, yung frustration na nararamdaman niya. It could be deep breathing exercises, it could be listening to music, especially calming music, or it could be a diversion of thoughts or activities like art therapy, ayan, pwedeng mga ganon, or other other activities such as exercises, gym, yan, mga gym activities, or even other recreational activities. The third one is what we call conduct disorder. Now, ang conduct disorder, ito yung persistent behavior na ang nakikita natin sa individual ay may paglabag sa societal norms. Hindi sumusunod sa rules, sa regulations, sa protocols, sa batas. At lalong-lalo na doon sa karapatan ng ibang tao, the rights of others, na violate nila. Ito, a very good example nito, yung mga bata or individual na paulit-ulit naghahanap ng away. Paulit-ulit picking a fight from their classmates, from their schoolmates, mahilig tumingin ng masama, or let's say mahilig bigla-biglang manuntok, mantulak, mampatid, basta there is an injury. There is accompanying injury or damages, ayan. Pwede din ang kanilang bad behavior is towards other living organisms, halimbawa mga hayop. It could be a dog or it could be pusa. Or minsan ang kanilang conduct disorder nakikita o naoobserbahan sa mga simpleng pagnanakaw ng mga mula sa maliliit na bagay hanggang sa mga importante at significant or valuable items na. Minsan nakikita din mga conduct disorders among teenagers na yung bang palaging lumalabas ng kanilang mga bahay without asking permission from their parents, especially mga oras ng gabi, yung tipong tumatambay sa kalsada na walang permiso o walang paalam. Mga nagsisinungaling, paulit-ulit na nagsisinungaling at gumagawa ng mga vandalisms, ayan. Or worst case scenarios, may involvement na talaga ng mga weapons, sometimes deadly weapons, okay? Sharp items. Maaaring makita natin ang mga iba't ibang signs and symptoms sa iba't ibang klaseng individual associating with a conduct disorders, gaya nga ng mga nabanggit na natin. It could be aggression to people and animals, destructions of property, deceitfulness and theft, even serious violation rules. It could also be callous and unemotional trait. There is a little empathy for others. Kaya nga if ibabangga natin ang conduct disorder over oppositional and intermittent explosive, with conduct disorder, totally there's no emotion at all from the person. Emotion in the sense na they feel bad for what they did or they feel guilty for what they did. There are very shallow and superficial emotions. Low self-esteem is also one. There is poor frustration tolerance. There is also temper outburst. And ito yung mga individuals, especially the teenagers, there are early onset of sexual behaviors. They engage themselves to sexual activities, drinking, smoking, and utilization of illegal or prohibited substances or drugs. Madalas ang onset ng conduct disorder nangyayari sa edad bago mag-10 taong gulang and involved dito mga batang lalaki. Pero madalas din may mga conduct disorders observed or diagnosed after 10 years old, and ang involved dito could be girls and boys, batang babae and batang lalaki. Now, as I've already stated, those are the subtypes of conduct disorders. Those under the types of before 10 years old, and the other one will be the adolescent onset. The very common difference of the two, pagdating sa before 10 years old, nandito yung mga physical aggression towards other. Ito yung mga batang picking a fight against other kids. Talagang may disturbed peer relationship sila at persistent conduct disorder na nakikita. Dito mas nagsisimulang mag-develop yung tinatawag na antisocial personality disorder na mas nakikita to kapag hindi na-address in adulthood. For the adolescent onset naman, ito naman yung mga individuals na nung sila ay 1 taon hanggang 9 na taong gulang, you can observe that they know the good behavior, what the good behavior is all about. Nga lang, because of life events or circumstances, nag-develop sila ng mga behaviors na nag-develop sila ng mga behaviors na hindi maganda. Na kung saan, mas nauwi sila into, yun na nga, conduct disorders. Pero ito, it's less likely na aggressive and mas nagpapakita naman din sila ng more normal peer relationships. There are 4 different categories of behavior associated with conduct disorder. Ito yung tinatawag nating aggression. Pag sinabing aggression, tatandaan, ang pinapatungkulan natin dito are the physical fights, but it could also be bullying. Other categories could be destruction. Pag sinabing destruction, ito yung arson, it could be vandalism, and then pag sinabi namang deceit or theft, ito yung paulit-ulit na pagsisinungaling or pagsha-shoplift or pagkuha ng gamit na walang permiso or walang paalam or hindi pinipurchase or hindi binabayaran. For the rule violation naman, dito babagsak yung mga truancy, running away, or yung paglayas, or yung paggawa ng kasamaan labag sa alinsunod na sinasabi ng batas. Now, the intensity of behavior associated with conduct disorder can be classified into mild, moderate, and severe. Ang severity na to, class, nakabase or nakabangga dun sa gaano kagrabe yung kayang gawin na hindi maganda ng isang tao o ng isang individual. Of course, for the mild, these are conduct problems that the child will do or can do, let's say mga minor harm, paulit-ulit na pagsisinungaling, truancy, minor shoplifting, or staying out late without permission. Hindi pa siya ganun kagrabe. Na as we move to moderate and severe, ito talagang unti-unti nang nagiging seryoso yung kinocommit na action or offense ng bata. Na to the point na when it comes to severe behavior, masasabi na natin na crime na yung nagagawa ng mga bata dito. Kasi seryoso na at may involvement na ng weapon, deadly weapon, sa activities ng mga bata. Can we still manage conduct disorder? Yes, definitely. We can still manage the conduct disorder. But let me differentiate the externalizing and internalizing behaviors. Ito yung mga pag-uugali o mga aksyon na ginagawa at ipinapakita ng mga individuals under conduct disorders, those individuals diagnosed with conduct disorders na for the externalizing, ito yung ginagawa nila towards other people, let's say family, parents, siblings, peers, or mga tropa, kaibigan, or people within their community, within their barangay, na ito yung nakikita na ginagawa nila, no? Within the external environment. For the internalizing, ito yung nakikita naman, characteristics na nasa sarili nila. Within themselves, ito yung nangyayari, ito yung ginagawa nila. For the management of conduct disorder, ito mas madalas talaga sinasabi natin, it's more effective to do an early intervention. Di ba sabi nga natin, one of the subtypes is before 10 years old. Ibig sabihin, yung bata, kaya pa nating mabali yung sungay niyan through early intervention programs. And for us to do the early intervention, so yung sunod natin or the recommendation is the client developmental age intervention. Ibig sabihin, age-appropriate ang magiging management natin. Halimbawa, for preschool programs, so this could be a head start na ang gagawin ng psychiatrist, ng therapist, all those recommended and appropriate sa edad ng isang preschooler. Dito papasok yung dun sa before 10 years old, usually mga 3 to 4 years old or 3 to 5 years old. What will be those interventions? It could be a parental education. Na dito, bibigyan natin ng diin yung normal growth and development. We will involve the parents in the plan of care. Isang kapaki-pakinabang is yung simulation for children. When you say simulation, there will be scenarios where the child will be where the child will be involved. It's like a similar to a role playing na ano yung pwedeng mangyari or pwedeng gawin on such situations. Kaya dito importante yung parental support, especially kapag nandiyan na yung crisis. We can also move to different developmental level or developmental age of the child, such as the school age programs. Ito more on family therapy ang kapaki-pakinabang dito. Na ang focus ng treatment natin will be yung batang involved, yung kanyang pamilya, at since part of the environment of a child ang eskwelahan, involved din ang school as one of the part of the program. Kasi bahagi din ng kanyang behavior, kinokorek natin within the school premises, involvement din ng kanyang teachers, ng kanyang peers. For adolescents naman, since ang adolescents, mas importanteng mabigyan siya ng chance to express or to verbalize their thoughts, their feelings. So, individual therapy can also be useful or beneficial. Nabibigyan din kasi ng pagkakataon na mas maintindihan nila ang kanilang sarili, na mas lumawak ang kanilang pag-intindi, at mag-gauge or ma-weigh nila yung kanilang options to act as a solution for their problems. Keeping the client in their environment with family and individual therapies can also be part of adolescents program. Conflict resolutions, anger management, teaching social skills, at kung kinakailangan dahil nga there will be or there are some adolescents also suffering from other psychiatric or mental health problem, medications can be beneficial. Now let's talk about other related disorders. Yung iba pang problems natin, it could be a kleptomania. Kleptomania is still under the umbrella of disruptive behavior because again, this is also an activity or a behavior that is not accepted by the society, di ba? Obviously, hindi ka dapat, hindi katanggap-tanggap that a person will impulsive, repetitive, repetitively do activities na kumukuha ka ng items na hindi naman sa'yo. Higit sa lahat, the person doesn't need the item. It's just the ginagawa or kinukuha niya to out of the satisfaction. Sa madaling salita, there's no personal use. There's no monetary gain. That's why kleptomania differs from theft or naiiba siya sa pagnanakaw. Kasi madalas when you say nagnanakaw, there are items kinukuha ng tao because they're after with the value of the item na ninakaw nila, that it can be converted into cash. Cash that can be used by the person, let's say, pambili ng bisyo nila, let's say alak or ng pinagbabawal na gamot. Yun. So, pero other cases of theft, kaya nagnanakaw kasi that's their only way or that's their only means to purchase, let's say, basic commodities, such as food. Yan. So, may mga ganon. Pero kleptomania is something different. Kleptomania happen out of tension and anxiety. And kleptomania, they commit this form of pagnanakaw or pagkuha because it gives them relief, it gives them exhilaration, or even gratification. Nandun yung satisfaction nila out of getting that item. But you know what, class? Once they got the item, they will discard it. Tatapon na nila yan. They will just hold that item for, let's say, few minutes, several hours, then after nun, iiwanan na din nila yan. Madalas ang kleptomania, paulit-ulit sa babae. Babae ang commonly affected with this type of disruptive behavior. But then again, there are negative legal career, family, and social consequences na pwede nilang harapin or pwede nilang maranasan, especially affecting their reputation. The next one is what we call pyromania. Ang pyromania is something very rare, but this is a disruptive behavior na mas naka-incline into a legal matter, a crime, no, over a mental problem. Ang pyromania kasi, it's a repeated intentional fire setting. Pagsusunog, yan. The fascination is within the fire. Yung tao, gustong-gusto, natutuwa siya kapag nakakakita siya ng sunog. The pleasure or the relief of tension is by setting a fire or sometimes by watching a fire. Na, of course, fire is something dangerous within the society, within the environment kasi it could kill people, it could destroy property, kaya delikado. Kaya ito, it is more of associated with legal matter, crime, over major mental disorder. So, when we talk about disruptive behaviors, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito is more of antisocial acts, defiance without a major antisocial acts like your ODD, sudden violent outburst of proportion like in your IED, and for your conduct disorder na may persistent violation of rules, rights, and norms. Na all of these will help us further understand those people having challenges balancing their emotions. Similar to the waves, kagaya ng mga alon sa dagat na nahihirapan tayong kontrolin, mahirap kontrolin, na kapag ito lumaki at nakita natin na pwedeng magdala ng dagok or pagsubok sa ating buhay, ganun din ang emosyon na kapag galit ang umiral sa atin, most definitely, we will not be able to solve the problem. Kumbaga, mas nagiging complicated lamang ang lahat. And by understanding these people, giving them a chance to process big emotions, definitely, we're giving them hope to correct what needs to be corrected. At dito po nagtatapos ang ating lecture all about disruptive behavior. If there are questions, if there are concerns, you may send it to my email address, acdemesa@fatima.edu.ph. Maraming salamat po. Have a good day, everybody!